Good morning. Thank you for joining me for session 17. We are blasting acrylic today, plastic material. And I can't believe it's session 17, but wow, we've done it. 17 weeks of training, and I thank you for you joining us. I thank you for your support on our training videos. And we love doing them. We love coming into your homes, coming into your offices, your home businesses, and kind of bringing some education to you, some tips. And I thank you for sharing your tips as well, because I believe if we can share, we can all grow together, and we can be successful together. There's so much business out there for all of us. And it's so good. Find your niche. I mean, we have different people doing like weddings. We have people doing memorials, barware. There's so many different industries that you can get involved with sand carving. And sand carving is a great industry because it's so versatile. There's so many different things that you can do with sand carving. So many different materials that you can engrave, you can sand carve, you can etch, you can obtain depth into. So with sand carving, and there's not much it won't do, and including acrylic. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say last year, I would tell you, if you have acrylic, you really need to get a laser and laser it. Can it be done? Yes, but if you're going to be doing acrylic all the time, you need to have a laser. But so many of our customers, they don't have a laser, and they just want to sandblast it. So I'm going to answer your questions today. We're going to do a demonstration today on using what film do you use for blasting acrylic, for blasting plastic materials. So we're going to cover that today. Let me know where you're joining in from. I already see Ron from Florida. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Linda from Texas. Craig from Arizona. Welcome, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in and watching our live stream, our virtual trade show. So let's kind of go over what we have coming in when it comes to acrylic. Acrylic, why is it hard to sand carve? Acrylic blasts very easy, but the problem with acrylic is it heats up. It's a plastic. So when you're sandblasting, when you're doing the action of sandblasting or sand carving, that sand is generating heat on your surface. And what happens is you have a mask that glue wants to transfer over and create a residue. What is important when it comes to plastic material, acrylic, is you cannot obtain any depth. That is true. People try. You cannot get depth when it comes to sand carving acrylic material. There is no depth there. You can scratch the surface. So your blasting is like 20 seconds or less. I'm blasting at low pressure today. We're just going to do a quick etch and remove that stencil right away. So let's see, I have an acrylic popcorn bowl here, and you can see this, it etched really nice. Okay, just a really quick etch. You can use, if you have a laser, you can use your laser mask, and this is a great product. Again, you're just going to peel off the roll, peel your film, cut it, put it on your surface, and then you're just going to laser it and then provide an etch. But why would you etch a sand carve? If you have a laser, why would you need to sand carve something? And what I found out is some people, they really like the look of a sandblasted acrylic versus a laser acrylic, especially when it's a negative area. So if you're dealing with a negative area, such as this, so we have the heart here. Okay, there's absolutely, it's just a smooth finish. Okay, there's no track marks, there's nothing like that. It's just a complete smooth finish. And that's what I'm finding a lot of our customers want. They have a big sign. They just want to put a mask on it, and they just have a smooth finish. That's what you get with sand carving acrylic, is a very smooth finish that's uniform. So that's what I'm finding that our customers are targeting when they're dealing with acrylic products. Now, we have a sneeze guard up here. This is just something really small, just to use as a sample. It arrived late, and unfortunately the leg arrived broken, but I already have one of the plastic guards on the side. I did not remove it, but just think of how cool this would be, because everybody has a sneeze guard today, but if you decorated it. So I have my print film here of just a border that you can sandblast or put the film around the border of the opening of where you put your hands through. I thought, well, we have this. I went to get my nails done. You have the big sneeze guard, just a big plastic piece. empty, there's nothing on it, and I'm like, oh, this is a canvas. What can you put on there? You can put, you know, the name of the company that's doing the nails, Kim's Nails, or you can put a flower, or you can put, if you're patriotic, you can put a flag. There's so many different things that you can put. The name of the company, welcome. So to me, this is a canvas for you to sell your engraving service. So there's a lot to look for. We have to sometimes look to see what's around us. And when I go to a place, I look at, is that a canvas? Can we put a stencil on it? Can we engrave it? Hey, would you buy something that was decorated? So that's something you need to kind of sell yourself. You need to sell your service. And what's more is when you have photoresist film, now it's unlimited what you can do with your product. Okay, so it's all now of being creative. And hey, if you're not creative, because I don't consider myself a creative person, there are websites out there to help us with people like me, vectorstock.com, Deposit Photos, Adobe Stock. There are companies out there that have a website filled with creative people that we can purchase their artwork. Okay, so there's no excuse if you say you're not creative. There's no excuse. We have so many resources out there that we can tap into and look creative. Okay, so you have your laser mask that you can use. So we have a few items here. I have some acrylic glasses, and I don't know if you can see that. I'll put that in front of the red laser mask. Just a simple name. Okay. Now, what's important is what film do you use for blasting acrylic? Okay, so we've tried self-stick. Self-stick does leave a heavy residue, and you have to really work at removing that residue, especially if you leave that mask on for a long period of time. What's a long period of time? I'm going to say anything over 30 minutes is going to be a long period of time. I think 30 minutes is actually pushing that envelope. I would say 5 minutes at max, okay, when you're dealing with the self-stick, but you still might have to deal with some residue. So I'm going to use SR2000. SR2000, you're going to expose it, wash it out, then you're going to add adhesive. But what's really important with the adhesive, a very light layer. You do not want a lot of adhesive because we don't want to have to blast through the layer of adhesive, and we want to make sure that it peels off really nice. So I'm doing a test right before we went live. We masked these 2 cups, okay? And so these have been sitting on since about 9:55, 9:50. So we're going to sandblast these. We're going to remove the mask, and we're going to see how much residue we have to deal with it being on maybe like 20, 25 minutes. Okay? So let's get into what is out there for acrylic. So we have a company that sent us some awards so that we could blast on and demonstrate them today. That company is American Acrylic, and they're a California company. But what's great is they have beautiful awards that are in acrylic. I was like, wow, these are really nice. They have like some metal stands. They have a wood stand, many different options for you. But take a look at their website. If you have to deal with an acrylic award, they ship right away. My problem is why you don't see them on my table today is they got delayed in transit. So you can see them up on the screen, but I promise I will blast these. I will show these to you, and I'll send it out as a YouTube video or Instagram video. So at least you'll get to see what they look like sandblasted. So I will put those awards to work, and so you can get an idea of a sandblasted acrylic award. But American Acrylic sent those to us, and so we will demonstrate those once they arrive. So let's take a look at another company that I was really fond of. And this is a gentleman, his name is Mike, and he came up with an invention called the cooling curve. Okay, so cooling curve, it's his invention. It's a wine bucket that's put on the side. Okay, so when you put your wine or your champagne in, it sits really nice. You don't have to fuss with it if it's like a bucket like this, and then with the ice, you can just put you put your bottle in, and then the ice just wraps right around it. So it makes it really easy. And what he's doing is he's engraving the plate here. So he puts on the company or the restaurant's name right up in the front. If it's like a wedding or a party, they'll put the person's name, the wedding couple's name, or monogram. So basically, he had this idea of this wine bucket, he calls it the cooling curve, and he put his idea to work. He patented, and he's got orders for them, and he was lasering them, or he had someone laser them, and he wasn't happy with the finish. He wanted it sandblasted. So he contacted me and said, I have this invention, I'm getting a patent on it. Can I put my stencil, your stencil on there? And I said, sure, well, you really should laser it. He's like, I don't want to laser it. I've already tried it. It works, but I think it's going to look good sandblasted. So we made him some samples, and he sandblasted, and that's what he's doing. That's what he's currently selling. So I'm not sure if you've seen what he does, but we'll put those up. That's his wine bucket there. It's his invention. He puts the mask on, and then you see the finished piece right there. So we make the custom mask for him, and basically he just sandblasted a couple minutes, and I asked him, what are some of the pitfalls when it comes to the acrylic? He said, you have to cover it completely, and he says, and you have to be careful when you're removing that stencil. You want to make sure that you don't scratch it, because if you have any abrasive on your hands, any abrasive anywhere, and you rub against it, it will scratch, and that scratch doesn't go away. So that's something, this is his idea, and I thought it was really cool. And what's really nice is a profit of his, proceeds of part of his profits go to a company called, I want to say here, it's Miss Emma's Retreat. So we have some cancer patients that get benefited from the profits of this product, and they get to go sailing in Galveston, Texas. So it's a really neat retreat here, and it's something great that he's doing with his product. But again, you're putting your ideas to work, and that's what's important, putting your ideas to work. Okay, so we have, this is going to be our project today. We're going to put a mask on this. I'm going to show you how I'm going to cover it. We're going to blast this, and then we're going to blast these two glasses, and then we're going to remove the stencil. So I want you to send me your questions. Let me take a look here at the board real quick. And we have Vanessa, we have Deborah, thank you for joining us, Roland, Denise, I see Michael, Vinish, thank you for joining us. We have Linda, hello from Indianapolis, and Mark as well, Tim from Texas, Nathan Jones, welcome, and Mike Mudd from Kentucky. Welcome, guys. I really appreciate you guys joining us today. And so let's go ahead and get started applying that stencil, and then let's get started sandblasting. Now, April did our artwork for us, and what I told her I wanted was I wanted something that had a lot of engraving area, because that would be the only reason that I could really see someone sandblasting versus lasering if you had both pieces of equipment. So she set this up for me. Again, we're using SR2000. I'm using 4mm. You see a light spray of adhesive. I'm going to kind of pinch the corner here. I had a lot of people say, plastic, acrylic, that's your topic? And I said, well, there are several people that are doing this, so let's go ahead and tackle this as a project. And so send in your questions. Now we put a very light layer of adhesive on here, so I'm trying to pinch this corner off. And I can't seem to get it, so let me try a different one here real quick. It's hardly any adhesive. Again, because we're not dealing with that residue. We want the less residue as possible. Okay. And you can tell that I'm very used to working with the self-stick film. Cannot get this. Okay. We'll see here. Seems like it wants to tear. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so I'm just going to get a little pull tab here. And what April did, it was April's from our art department. She's our graphic artist, so she gave me two little line-up lines. So one's going to go here, and one's going to go on this little border. So as long as I can line up those lines, I got it straight. And she was on me. She says, you better make sure that's on there straight. And it kind of curves down. So you kind of have a little bit of a bow here. So I'm going to take my squeegee. We're going to apply some pressure here. I got to tell you, this is such a different product than what I'm used to working with. I'm used to working with glass or stone and plastic. You have to make sure that you handle it well. If you don't, you're going to have a residue, and you're going to deal with removing that residue. And that's not fun. So I'm going to put a little bit of tape just to hold it in place, and then I'm going to cover the whole piece here. I did the mistake of rubbing one a little too hard, but we found a little tip that I'm going to share with you in a moment. And let me go ahead and take the bag. So the bag, this cooler came in this bag. So I'm going to use the bag here as a cover. Now, we did notice that the bag has a couple little holes here, so we're going to cover those. Just trying to get this situated. Now we're going to take our tape. I'm going to cover the alignment line. And I'm using blue painter's tape instead of our resist tape, the Sandblast vinyl tape. And I didn't quite get this. Let me cover that up. Okay. And then we're going to wrap this in. I'm going to bring the two pieces together and just tape this down just so no sand gets in here. And then I'll tape the outside. Now, I might have done a little overkill on the tape, but you know what? It's always good to kind of protect your piece, especially when we're dealing with this type of material. Okay. So now let's take a look at the little, I think we have a little hole over here. Let's go ahead and tape that. We don't want any sand to get in here. Okay. And let's just double check the other side. Okay, that looks okay. All right, so let's get this in the Sandblaster. I'm using our 2034 VX sand carving system. And I'm going to get my glasses ready to blast as well. Okay, so I'll just put these off to the side. Okay. Now again, we're blasting at 20 pounds of pressure. That's it. We're going to go low pressure so we don't generate a lot of heat. Now I'm being told we have some questions here. So would a spray adhesive, spray adhesive I think is better if you can use a spray adhesive. A spray adhesive, you'd have to have like a little automotive blaster. And I'm talking on the spray adhesive, our spray adhesive, which is an RZ3. It's liquid, it's a little more thinner than the RZ2, and you can put it in like a airbrush or like an automotive sprayer, and then you would just spray a real light layer. Very light layer, so practice with that before you do your first project, because I tend to put on a heavy layer. Let's take a look here. We have Art Aguilar joining us this morning. So for those of you that remember, he says he's on his couch. All right, hi Art, good to have you with us. We have Stuart from UK, and Art, he should be here doing this. All right, so we have, and for those of you that are out of the United States, we do have a dealer's ProBlast in Australia, New Zealand. We have R&R in South America, the Glass Scribe in United Kingdom, Abrasive Imaging in Europe, the Glass Tattoo in the Netherlands, Katora in Czech Republic, and the Blast Shop in UK, who deals with the monument industry. So we have a lot of places servicing you throughout the world. But let's go ahead and turn on our system. As you know, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that this is height adjustable. So you can turn your switch and adjust it to where you feel comfortable sandblasting. I adjust it to 20 pounds of pressure. So we're just going to blast real light. We're going to blast basically until the glue is removed. So let me go ahead and get in here. And I'm going to make sure my stencil's down. I did not spend a whole lot of time burnishing, but let's go ahead and get this started here. So this, I can tell that I have a little bit of glue up here in this corner and on the R. So I'm going to do one more pass. Just to clear my glue. All right. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our glasses here. Again, we're just blasting that glue off. And let's do one more. We're going to check the residue on this. We're going to see how much residue is on because I have had the mask on for about 20-25 minutes. Again, now the blasting time is very, very quick. I'm going to use my air gun. Let's do the glasses first. Okay. All right. Just going to shut this off here. And then we're going to take this over to the sink, and then we're going to go ahead and remove the stencils. So I'm going to start with the glasses first. I just kind of like to rinse my hands before I get started. And basically I'm just removing all of the abrasive off the surface. Just going to peel away this tape. And I want to do this under running water. Sometimes people will have like two sinks set up, one to rinse off the abrasive and the other to soak to where the stencil gets removed off. But really our stencil comes off pretty quick, so you don't need a whole lot of soaking time. Let that sit for just a second. I'm going to let the water hit that. Let's remove this one. I had a customer contact me. He had a job to do of several different signs, and they had to be sandblasted. So a lot of people are using acrylic as for signage. And he said if with the big open area of artwork, he said sandblasting was easy because it was so quick. So you never know what kind of projects you're going to have come your way, but at least you've invested in some training time, so you're able to answer those questions, right? Okay, so I'm just going to kind of let the water sit on that a little bit. Now let's go ahead and remove our cooler. Okay, it's nice to have a big sink here so I can fit these large objects in. Peel this away. The tape is harder to remove than the Rayzist at this point, but let me go ahead and get these little strings off here. Okay, so a little tip that I'm going to share with you. I'm going to grab my WD-40 for just a moment here. And so we have like our mask here. We're just going to peel this away. The biggest thing that I want to do is I want to get my fingers and I want to rub this. And every time I do that, I have my rub marks. So you want to just peel away your stencil material, okay, very carefully, or I'm just kind of using my nail there to peel that up. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I do see, I'm trying to see if I see any residue here. there's a little bit of residue right in there. So what we're going to do, this is what I found worked really well, is I'm just going to put a little bit of WD-40, and I'm just going to rub this area, okay, first, and then I'll take a cloth and clean that up. So let me do that, and let me do the same with this. I'm just going to remove the rest of this little plastic material, or this little resist. And again, I want to rub this so bad, but you just want to stay away from rubbing. Let's take a look. A little bit of residue right in here. It looks almost like overblast, but you would hardly ever get overblast from our film blast through. So we're just going to put a little bit of WD-40, just kind of rub that on there. So it kind of gives it like an oily surface, kind of barrier for me to keep from rubbing it. If I rub it, what happens? I'm going to scratch it. Okay, so let's take a look here. We have our mask. Just going to remove this stencil. Tried using like a soft cloth. It's still, my cloth provided a little bit of a scratch marks is what it looks like, so I'm going to stay away from that. And again, I'm just going to use a little bit of WD-40, kind of get my fingers, kind of rub it around so I can clean it without having those scratch marks. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and I'm going to grab my towel. We'll clean this up here, and then I'll come back to the cooler and set that up. And actually, this looks pretty good. You always want to make sure you use a clean towel. Don't use a towel that you've been using to wipe off sand. So make sure you separate your towels. Okay. There's one. And you can use your glass cleaner to polish them up. And here's the second one. So just your glasses here look really nice. And I'm going to get started on my bucket here. So we have some questions. So I'm looking here, and it says, could you use crushed walnut shells? You know what? I haven't tried that. It could be a possibility because you're just dealing with scratching the surface. So as you know, walnut shells, you're looking at that for blasting on glass. We wouldn't recommend that because you're not going to be able to get depth with that. But for plastic, that is a possibility, and I have not personally tried it, and so I can't tell you that it might work. That's actually a really good idea. Okay, so let's see here. Do we have any dealers in India? I believe I do. I believe I have someone that does resell our film. And so I can definitely get you some information. I see your name, and we can go ahead and send that to you from our order desk. And we have Scotland. Ian from Scotland, welcome. So we thank you guys for joining us, and let's go ahead and clean up our bucket here, our cooling curve. Just going to kind of rinse this again. And we actually got some ice. We're going to put this to work here. And I love this because it's an idea. And what's great is putting your idea to work. In a sense, you could say he's carving his story. He's taking his idea and he's turning it into his story. And then you take your ice bucket, and there you go. You can have your, well, what he does is puts the name of the restaurant down, and you have your bucket. And let's move some of this out of the way and we'll polish that up real quick. I'm going to use a little glass cleaner. Again, I have a clean, non-sandy towel. But look at that. What a great idea. You have your etching done on the front. Again, a very quick etch. There's no depth to it. That's the key thing. If you can take anything from this, is that you cannot get depth when it comes to plastic materials from this session. So no depth on plastic. You're just basically scratching the surface. That's all you're doing is scratching the surface. So we talked about signage, we talked about the sneeze guard, and again, you can definitely get creative. We would have made this stencil and kind of put it over this opening here, and then you could have etched it. But there's a lot you can do. This is just a small sneeze guard, but you can, they have big giant panels right now when it comes to the separation, the safety plexiglass that people are putting up. Why not decorate them? Why not put that in your sandblaster and sandblast that? So again, we're just here to give you ideas. We're here to kind of answer your questions and hopefully help you if you come up with that project when it comes up with acrylic. So we have a few more sessions coming your way, and then you want to check our website to make sure that you look at our schedule. So we'll post that so you can have our schedule. And we thank you for joining us. We're going to go to Rayzist.com. You can look at the SR2000, the RZ2 brush-on glue. And today I used 4 mil, but you can definitely use 3 mil. 3 or 4 mil will work when it comes to plexiglass or acrylic surfaces. But I just want to see, I have one more shout out. I have Robert from Georgia. So welcome, welcome. We thank you for joining us. So this is our session for today. I know it was short, but plexiglass or acrylic is very quick to etch. So let me know if you have any questions, send them our way, and we'll make sure to respond to them. We'll take a look at them later in a few hours. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us. Go to Rayzist.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Sandcarving.